If you're invested in the crypto market, the time is now, with Bitcoin sitting just shy of $70,000, XRP sitting at 52 cents, Dogecoin at 16 cents, Solana at $167. Where will the most amount of money be made in these markets? And what is about to happen next is going to completely change the game. And I'm not just saying that because I have actual data to back this up for you guys on the charts, comparing Bitcoin to the total altcoin market cap. Talk about what's going to happen next for XRP, what's taking place over in Germany right now for XRP, the game of chess that is taking place right now between Ripple, the IMF, the central banks, SWIFT, and the Federal Reserve with the leadership and board of directors for Ripple. On top of that, what Brad Garlinghouse has to say about Ripple going public for their IPO, and what the former Treasurer of the United States, Rosie Rios, has to say about the future of Ripple's XRP and blockchain. So I hope you guys had an amazing weekend. You're going to absolutely love this video. If you're feeling bullish, comment 777. If you're feeling blessed, comment 777. And if you're going to become the first millionaire in your family tree, confirm it by tapping the subscribe button. Let's run it. All right, bull runners, welcome back to the channel. So looking at the total crypto market cap right now, we're sitting in greed at 60. So we're not in extreme greed right now, with Bitcoin getting ready to break 70K. The rest of the markets are hanging out right now. When we look at the liquidation heat map, we need to see where the most amount of leverage is at to understand where these long traders or these shorts would get liquidated at. So right here, you guys can see that there's about $5 billion at 72,300. So there's a vast amount of leverage and liquidity on the upside for Bitcoin, and to liquidate these traders, to push anywhere between $76,000, even going into price discovery, would liquidate a lot of these shorts. So I would assume that, I could be wrong here, but these are short traders that thinks the price would go up into here, fill their trade, and then the price would correct back down. So if they're planning to short the markets right there, what the exchanges and the market makers would most likely do is push Bitcoin past the high in price discovery of, $80,000 to $87,000. Now to the downside, there's some leverage right here, like $2 billion to $3 billion near 66K. But what I want to do is I want to bring up the chart from the past, and let's talk about some similarities that we see here. So we brought this chart up, I think it was like about a week or two ago, showing you guys Bitcoin compared to the previous bull run cycle from August 2020 until October of 2020. And we're also looking at the relative strength index and the MACD. And when we see a bearish cross took place, back in March when Bitcoin topped out at the all-time high of 2024, it was very similar to what happened back here in August of 2020. Bitcoin's momentum out of COVID, this was the recovery rally when, money was going into the economy, stimulus was getting ready to start going out there and getting pushed. Well, Bitcoin breached upwards of $12,000 and made a final peak while after the bearish cross took place on August of 2020. So similar to what took place for Bitcoin right here, the momentum shifted from the bulls to the bears. And when we see bearish crosses on the MACD well above the zero line, then that's a strong indicator of a reversal and momentum shift. And also what we saw happen as well too, the RSI, we saw a divergence where we could see a higher high on the price chart, and we also see a lower high on the RSI. And so the RSI was in a downtrend. It was recently upwards of 88. So anytime we're upwards of 70, we're in overbought conditions. Anytime we're between 80 or 90 and 100, we're in drastically overbought conditions. So Bitcoin was due for a correction, and the fact that we saw a higher high on the price chart, lower high in the RSI, followed by a bearish cross on the MACD, this was telling us that we were due for a reversal. And once we broke this ascending support right here on the 12th of April 2024, we found a low on the 2nd of May. Simultaneously, the RSI bottomed out down near 30 when it was about 33 oversold conditions. Then we started working our way on out of here. Now, looking at the right-hand side of the screen, we saw something similar happen. We saw the price break upwards of $12,000. The RSI breached 85. And so we are forming a higher high on the price chart, whereas we are forming a lower high on the relative strength index, followed by a bearish cross well above the zero line. So these charts are almost identical. Now, it doesn't mean that Bitcoin is going to follow the 2020-2021 bull run exactly. And again, this is not financial advice. I'm just providing you guys the news. And these videos are purely for information, educational purposes only, because you obviously understand crypto is very risky. You could lose money in these these markets. There's no guarantees of returns. So you should always do your own research. Don't buy, don't sell anything we talk about in these videos. In full disclosure, yes, we do hold some of the projects we talk about in our videos, but that doesn't mean that you should. I just believe in providing you guys with the best information to help you make the most amount of money possible. But I make no recommendations to buy or sell anything. So when we look at Bitcoin on 8th of September 2020, Bitcoin bottomed out around $9,700. The RSI simultaneously was down here around 32. The MACD was in a downtrend. And then we saw a bullish cross happen on the 15th of September when Bitcoin was recovering. So we can see this range right here where Bitcoin was trying to break above this previous zone of support from the 11th of August of 2020 until the 27th of August of 2020. It got rejected from it right here on the 18th of September, and it was coiling up, forming higher lows. It broke this zone of resistance and consolidated for like a week or two and then broke to the upside. And so what we're seeing right now for Bitcoin is we saw it form a low on the 30th of April. The RSI was down near 33, almost the exact same level that it was on September 2020 when Bitcoin bottomed out. It recovered, it broke this descending resistance, just like it broke this descending resistance right here on the 14th of September 2020. It broke it on the 3rd of May of 2024. We didn't quite come back up to this zone as resistance, but we did right here on the 21st of April. But we recently broke it by the 19th of May. We came back up to backtest $72,000 and got rejected. And we're just coiling up right here, recently bouncing off this steep ascending support. Also, the RSI is at 58 right now, very similar to where we were right around the 17th of October right here before we breached 70 and went upwards of 83 and hung out here while Bitcoin was breaking 12,013, 14, 15, going all the way up to the all-time high at $19,000. Seeing the flash crash to 16, back up to 19, another crash back down to 17, then off to the beaches of the moon, all the way up to $40,000 before the next major 30% correction to the downside. So a lot of people right now are on the sidelines for Bitcoin because they're like, well, what if Bitcoin pulls back another 20 or 30%? To go back down to 56,000, which was the low of April, that's 18%. To do a 20 to 30% correction here would be back down to like $55,000 to $48,000. So that's not out of the question. And there's always flash crashes in these markets. So if we break this ascending support and we do something like this for Bitcoin and we just coil up even further, then it would invalidate what we're looking at right here on the right hand side of the chart. But what we can go off of is the past. We can look at confluence on the indicators, and then we can also look at what's happening now to get an idea of what most likely will happen in the future. And if you guys watch my previous videos, I talk about what's happening right now this year. We have election coming up. We also have the global liquidity cycle pairing in line with Bitcoin's 4-year market cycle theory, where after Bitcoin's halving, roughly 3 to 12 months, Bitcoin goes parabolic. And also we need to look at USDT's market cap dominance, because when Tether's dominance is going down, that means money is coming out of stablecoins and it's going elsewhere, and it's mostly going into the crypto market. And so when we look at when Tether started to break down from September of 2020, by October, what I showed you right here when Bitcoin was breaking out upwards of $11,000, $12,000 and 13, 14, 15, then back to the all-time high, Tether was breaking down. Now, when Tether was breaking down, we see this ascending support that it bounced off of and hovered at while Bitcoin was breaking up. So when Bitcoin finally breached, $29,000, $30,000, $40,000, Tether was down here. It wasn't until Bitcoin formed a top of the first top at near $65,000 that Tether finally bounced off this ascending support of 2% of dominance and rallied all the way up to 5.5% for that first correction. Then another crash for the double top, and then the bear market kicked in at the exact same moment that Tether's dominance bounced off this ascending support. So this is a macro support that goes back to 2018 that we're going to look for on Tether's dominance. And look what just happened recently, with this breakout to the all-time high on the 11th of March. It bounced off of it again. So what I would expect to happen for Tether's dominance, and again, I could be wrong here because these are just my opinions based on facts that I look at from the past and the news and all that good stuff. But when Bitcoin broke, upwards of $28,000 to $65,000, we're seeing Bitcoin right now consolidating, getting ready for the next major leg up. And the next major leg up would be around $100,000. Now that would be in line with the prediction of what these big banks are predicting to happen for Bitcoin by the end of this year before the next major correction happens. So I would just expect USDT's dominance to hang out around this ascending support right here while Bitcoin starts to make the next major move upwards of 85, 90, 97. Maybe it gets to 100,000. Maybe it goes a little above it or below it. I don't know exactly what it'll get to, but I think there's going to be a lot of selling pressure at $100,000. And then we see Bitcoin cool off for another period of time going into 2025 after election, maybe a 20-30% correction around 100K. We come back down to backtest 73K. Maybe we go deeper. We'll see. And then we make the next major final stage, phase 4 of the bull run, the final stage of the parabolic blow off top throughout 2025, where we start seeing Bitcoin at the max peak, in my opinion, at $190,000. Now, the reason why I think $190,000 is because if we were to measure from the all-time high for Bitcoin to the low, and we were to look at a full extension, 253, a 3.618, 210,000, a 2.618, $162,000. So I think we'd be due between a 2.618 and a 3.618. And if we were to even measure from the actual true technical high, which is April of 2021 to the low, and we were to look at what a 3.618 would be, that'd be around 196, 198,000-ish dollars. So just shy of 200K. So the noise is going to be the loudest in 2025 when virtually everybody, you want to watch this. Watch the masses, guys. When 99% of the markets and people are saying, Bitcoin's going to 250K, Bitcoin's going to 250K. And if Bitcoin's upwards of 140, 150K, will most likely top out just shy of $200,000. Maybe even like $140 to $160,000. So to know exactly how high Bitcoin will go, we need to look at other key indicators like the RSI, the MACD, the stochastic RSI on the monthly, and that'll give us an idea on when we're drastically oversold near 80 and 90. But USDT's dominance is another key thing, because on Bitcoin's next leg up, Tether's dominance would drop, and on Bitcoin's next major 20 or 30% correction, Tether's dominance may bounce. And so at some point, we're going to see Tether's dominance come back up to this descending resistance right here, and that would be on Bitcoin's next major correction. And if we see a bull run in the stage that we saw similar to what happened back in 2017, I think that's more in line with what's going to happen for this bull run cycle, and it will be more parabolic because global liquidity is going to be increasing this year. Now, more eyes are on the MVRV than almost any other Bitcoin indicator for the cycle, making it important to look at. And this is a logarithmic chart which has identified cycle tops and bottoms accurately by using the converging channels that are shown on the screen right now. So data position wise, we may be more progressed in the cycle than it would appear on the surface. So price reached the same levels seen at the first tops in each cycle in March of 2024. So thankfully, there is still good room for growth to the market cycle top. However, the first top mark right here in blue has been hit, whereas the second top mark in red hasn't been hit. And the last time that we hit the first market cycle top was in January of 2021, when Bitcoin was all the way upwards of $40,000 during that correction. So right now, this correction that's taking place could be comparable to Bitcoin at 40K before we see the final leg up to 65K, because according to Tether's market cap dominance, that's when Tether's dominance was down near the ascending support. That's exactly where Tether's dominance is right now, down near the ascending support. And also we see the law of diminishing returns kicking in, where each cycle is less parabolic than the previous cycle, where also we can see on the logarithmic MVRV, we see this descending resistance right here for each market cycle top. So that's also something to take into note. So in terms of where the money's going to be made in these markets, it's not necessarily in Bitcoin, because the money's made in Bitcoin when you bought it all the way back at $100 to $1,000 or $10,000. Right now, with Bitcoin sitting just shy of $70,000, in order to pull a 10x, Bitcoin would need to go to $690,000. And while I do think that that's going to happen at some point, 2030 or beyond, or maybe 2029, 2028, this cycle, I don't think that's likely. So when you look at the green circle in terms of the cycle bottom matching up with the cycle bottom mark on the logarithmic MVRV indicator, and then also when you look at the first cycle top circled in blue right here compared to the price chart, January 2021 was the last one, June of 2017 was the previous one, April of 2013. At each of these points, we saw a deep 20 to 30% correction for Bitcoin. So the most recent correction for Bitcoin from the all-time high until May of 2024 is 23%. So that could technically qualify as the dip being done, and we're getting ready to break upwards of $80,000 to $90,000. However, it may also mean that we're a little further along in this cycle than a lot of people think, and the market cycle top may be earlier than everyone expects, because based on Bitcoin's 4-year market cycle theory, theoretically, the top for Bitcoin and the rest of the market should be around like October, September-ish, or November of 2025. However, if Bitcoin starts going parabolic this summer, it gets to $100,000 or $120,000 this year before 2025 kicks in, and we see the technical cycle top get reached on the MVRV indicator, then I'll be bringing this back up for you guys and sounding the alarm, putting more warnings, emergencies in the title of my videos, because we're going to be gauging where the greed, where the euphoria is, the emotions, the sentiment on social media. We're also going to be looking at Google Trends on top of the indicators to see where we're at, to look for more confluence if we're at a true market cycle top, or if we have higher to go. Another thing that we need to look at is Bitcoin's market cap dominance and compare that to the crypto total market cap excluding Bitcoin. And the reason why we look at this is because when Bitcoin's dominance breaks down, money is flowing, more into altcoins and or stable coins than it is into Bitcoin. And we see altcoins outperforming Bitcoin. So in this case, this would be comparing just the Ethereum and down compared to Bitcoin. And so when Bitcoin dropped from 90+% all the way down to 36%, we saw the most parabolic move in altcoins from just $1 billion or two. It was at 700 million and it rallied upwards of $478 billion. So as proportional as the drop was for Bitcoin, dropping from 90+% down to 30%, that's why we saw the most parabolic price action is 66,000% into altcoins, because all these altcoins were popping up. We saw the XRP, we saw Ethereum, we saw, Polygon, we saw Bitcoin Cash, we saw Litecoin, those OG coins that were around during that bull run. Those were the coins that, absorbed a large chunk of the market cap when Bitcoin broke down to 30%. Then when Bitcoin's dominance bottomed out, well, guess what? The altcoin market cap bottomed out at the same time. Then Bitcoin's dominance started to absorb the liquidity. Again, when we were going into a bear market, Bitcoin was better to hold if you were allocating a percentage of your income and your net worth into the crypto market. Honestly, it's smarter just to hold stable coins, treasury bonds, cash, and then real estate at that time, because holding Bitcoin, you still would have been destroyed. But again, looking right here, when Bitcoin topped out at 74%, it didn't come back up to 90% because there's more altcoins in the market. So when Bitcoin's dominance, people really wonder, why was the 2020, 2021 altcoin bull run not as parabolic as the previous one? Well, it's dilution. Also, there's more altcoins in the market. So a lot of these altcoins didn't see as big of gains because there were fewer of them in 2017. And also Bitcoin's dominance was lower than it was during the previous cycle because more money was being held in altcoins around December of 2020. Because as you can see, the altcoin market cap was around 200 billion compared to just a few billion back in March of 2017. It's the exact same thing that's happening today. That's why Bitcoin's dominance is only at 54%. So I don't think Bitcoin's dominance is going to pass 72%. In fact, I think Bitcoin's dominance is going to be topping out here soon on Bitcoin's next major leg up. So when Bitcoin starts breaching 80, 90, potentially $100,000, what I would expect to happen is for Bitcoin's dominance to make one final rally upwards of maybe 58, maybe 60% and peak out, similar to what happened from August of 2020 until right here of December of 2020, and then to drop off a shelf and start trading to the downside. Now, when Bitcoin's dominance starts coming down near 38, 35, 34% down here, that's when I expect the altcoin market to start ripping to the upside and passing 3 trillion and eventually getting to $5 trillion. Now, how high will the altcoin market go this bull run? I don't know. One thing that I do know, though, is more millionaires will be made than ever before in altcoins instead of Bitcoin. And the reason why I believe that to be true is because if we go to DeFi Llama and we look at all chains and we look at the total value locked in terms of money, it's been going up. It's at $107 billion. And we're not even close to the all-time high. I mean, we'd have to 2x from here to pass it. The all-time high was 175 billion during the last bull run cycle. And more liquidity is going into the system with the global liquidity cycle because according to Capital Wars, this data right here shows the global liquidity cycle should peak around September 2025, following its December 2022 trough, right around the bottom of the bear market. And so we can see that global liquidity is bottomed out. It's trending back to the upside. And it also plays in line with Bitcoin's 4-year market cycle theory. So Satoshi, whoever he or the group was that created Bitcoin, whether it's the NSA, the government, or who knows behind the scenes, well, they knew a lot about global liquidity at that time because Bitcoin has just followed this cycle right here. So buy low, sell high. Where's global liquidity? It's low right now. It's going to be going high over the next 1 to 2 years. Now, the vast majority of the liquidity in the crypto market right now is on the Ethereum chain, just because Ethereum's been around for longer. And as you guys can see right here, the high for Ethereum is $105 billion locked. We're at 65 right now. Then you can see like Tron, Binance Smart Chain at $5 billion. So it's still undervalued compared to where the Binance Smart Chain was. Solana obviously has been doing very well this cycle, and we've been in this uptrend, but we're still not to the all-time high. Base is brand new for this cycle. So I think Base and Solana are going to be competing side by side. Then Base will do very well when Bitcoin really starts marketing their smart wallet and they start onboarding a lot of normies. So Base right now is at 1.75 billion. That's going to continue to climb. One chain that is underperforming right now that I think will change over time is actually Polygon too. Well, Polygon is sitting at 958 million, whereas the all-time high is at 9 billion. So I think Polygon has a lot of room to grow. On top of Avalanche, Avalanche is sitting at $900 million in total value locked, and the peak of the last bull run was at $11 billion. So that's over 11x from where we're at right now. And also when we look at Polygon's chart, it's sitting at 70 cents. The all-time high is upwards of $2.90. And if we look at the RSI right now is sitting at 43. We see this ascending support. We can also see where bullish crosses took place on the MACD around the same time, a little bit after, the price chart bottomed out around 36 cents. We saw the RSI down here at 29. We also saw a bullish cross take place right after that. So that was a massive bullish signal because the price went from 35 cents upwards of $1.50, got rejected from this descending resistance. The RSI was at 69. Also, we then saw a bearish cross on the MACD shortly after that, a reversal. We saw another bullish cross. We saw the RSI down at 33. The price reversed, forming this ascending support, 2 points of contact. Now we have 3 points of contact right here. The MACD is still in a downtrend. The RSI is in a downtrend. So what I would be looking to see on the chart to happen next is for the next reversal to take place, the RSI would need to bounce off this ascending support. We would need to see shortly after a bullish cross on the MACD. We can see positive momentum shifting from the bears to the bulls because the first bearish or bullish cross that took place was in July of 2022. The next one was in September, but it was a lot higher than the previous one. And so I would think that the next bullish cross would be higher and form another higher low on top of the RSI, forming a higher low inside of the symmetrical triangle on the price chart. So with Bitcoin's next major leg up to 80, 90, $100,000, when Bitcoin's dominance starts to rotate, I would expect a lot of that capital to start flowing into the Polygon network, because not a lot of people are focused on that right now. What they're focused on is on the Solana ecosystem and meme coins, gaming, and AI. So what we would need to look for on the Polygon network to see where the most amount of money is going to be made is in the sectors on chain that are getting the biggest adoption right now, and that's AI, gaming, and meme coins. And one gaming project that I think is going to do well the rest of this bull run that's also a sponsor of today's video is Landrocker. Now, Landrocker had a very successful launch. It did a 10x in the first 24 hours. So congratulations to those of you guys that watch those videos. Now, obviously, this isn't financial advice. I make these videos to inform you what these projects are, but I'm not going to make any recommendations to buy or sell. I just believe in sharing with you what they're doing and the reason why I believe a project like Landrocker could do well this bull run based on the narrative of blockchain gaming, play to earn gaming, and in-game utility tokens that are used for their play to earn model. So if you guys go to landrocker.io, you can check this game out. Right now, the LRT token is trading on Uniswap and MEXC. They're an official partner of IMX, which, as you already know, IMX is the #1 gaming project on CoinMarketCap in the world right now, with a market cap of $3.3 billion. So if IMX continues to stay on top, or at least does relatively well and stays in the top 5 or the top 10 this entire bull run, which I think it will, then projects that are partnered with Immutable will have the highest likelihood of doing well. It's like signing to the Chicago Bulls during the Michael Jordan era when Scottie Pippen used to play with Jordan. Now, I'm not saying that Landrocker is going to go and do 1,000x or make you a millionaire. What I am saying is this project has big plans and awesome utility in the space, with the playable game dropping here soon. They have the light version, the pro version of their game, and the market cap is relatively low. It's at a $3 million market cap. So this is a micro cap project. Now, the only things that I don't like about it, which I believe in sharing full transparency, is that the circulating supply right now says only 6% on coinmarketcap.com out of the max supply of 10 billion tokens. Only 612 million are in circulation. So that's not that good of a ratio, because we want to see a higher percentage of circulating supply out there compared to the max supply. But that can be offset when the market cap is relatively low. We don't want to see a project at like $100 million, $200 or $300 million market cap with this low of a percentage in circulation. And also the fully diluted is at 52 million compared to 3 million. But that also can be a good thing, because that means the market cap can catch up to that before we see any major sell-offs or anything like that, because the market cap is so freaking low right now. See, where it becomes an issue is when the market cap gets upwards of 50 million, $100 million, and you see the fully diluted at like $1 billion, $2 billion, or $3 billion. And if we look on Landrocker's chart, we can compare it to another project in this space, which is Beam, that currently has a $1.3 billion market cap right now. We can see some similarities here. We see this falling wedge after launch where Landrocker pulled to 10x. It rallied upwards of, nearly a penny. Beam rallied upwards of nearly a penny as well, 2.009. It saw a correction and a crash down after launch, dropped about 28% down to 0.006. Landrocker dropped about 65%, so a little bit deeper of a correction. And we also can look at the RSI. Now, there wasn't enough data on this chart right here on Binance for Beam, but we can see the RSI bottomed out at 33 and started an uptrend from there. Simultaneously, the price bottomed out. I would assume that there was a bullish cross down here on the MACD, but again, there's not enough data on Binance. But you can see we were well below the zero line. Then the MACD line was above the signal line. We started trending upwards. We saw the momentum shift from the bears over to the bulls. The same thing's happening on Landrocker's chart. The RSI bottomed out at 14 because the crash was so steep at 65%, but we're still up from the initial launch and we're starting a new uptrend. So now the RSI is sitting at 60. We saw a bullish cross happen right here on June of 2024, shortly after the bottom was in, and we see momentum shifting from the bulls over to the bears over the bulls. So what I want to see on the MACD is I want to see us well above the zero line before the next cross takes place. And I would expect something along the lines. Now, again, I could be wrong, but I would expect it to form, higher lows, similar to what happened on the Beams chart. So we're doing that right now. It would need to hold this ascending support right here. And you could see massive amounts of liquidity just fly in November, pushing Beam from 0.007 upwards of 0.01 before the next correction took place. And then a bearish cross happened on the MACD. So the MACD line on the left-hand side of the screen is still above the signal line. What I would expect to see is the MACD line stay above the signal line for us to trend well above the zero line. And when the next surge of liquidity flows into this project, it could spring relatively quick, very, very fast. The target for it, again, I'm not going to give you an exact price target, but when we look at the all-time high and a falling wedge, that's really what you want to look for. And that's what happened for Beam before the next correction took place, brought us back down within 0.007 and started trending sideways from November of 2023 until December of 2023. I mean, it looks like a long period of time, but it was only 17 days, but there was a lot of price action on the chart in between then. And right now we're only like 6 days into the launch for Landrocker, so it's just getting started. So what we're watching is the RSI right now on the hourly chart. And if the RSI starts pushing upwards of 70 or 80 while volume starts coming in, I want to watch the MACD trending well above the zero line, just like what happened back in November of 2023 before we saw a bearish cross right here for the next correction. So where we are right now from the all-time high for Landrocker is about 94%. But if we zoom out on Beam's chart right here and we go to the 1 day, look at what happened after about 2 weeks. We kept forming higher lows. We had a horizontal resistance, which is an ascending triangle where we see a rising lower trend line support followed by a flat resistance, an uptrend, the price coiling up, followed by a breakout of the resistance to the upside. And that's if we're in a bull market. Now, if Bitcoin stays bullish, what that would look like on Landrocker's chart is we would need to see this ascending support hold. The resistance to the upside would be the all-time high. We could wick above it and then see a candle body close below it, see the next correction come in and coil up right here within this ascending triangle before the next major break to the upside to continue the uptrend. And this is exactly what we saw happen for Beam. So from the high back in November all the way to the breakout was 165% breakout. Now we then saw the next correction take place. The RSI was all the way upwards of 80, well overbought conditions, and it consolidated for about 57 days. And we saw a drop of 55%. But then the next major breakout from there brought it up 163%. So if we were to measure back to November 2023, even if you bought the top for Beam at like a penny right here, you bought the exact high and then you're down, 20, 30% on that correction. If you would have just waited 115 days, you'd be up 300%. Now, sure, that's no 50x or 100x because Beam launched with a larger market cap. But when you look at something like Landrocker with only a $3 million market cap, it has a 99 out of 99 DEX score, and it's only 6 days into launch. Virtually nobody knows about this project right now. So definitely keep it on your radar because a lot of people are wondering, where is the money going to be made in these markets? Well, it's in the low market cap projects. And when we look at something like XRP, which is a larger market cap project, people have been sitting on this project for years, guys. Now, obviously, I believe in XRP. I think it's going to do very, very well, but we need to see Bitcoin's dominance drop, simultaneously see the altcoin market break out, because when we compare now XRP to the US dollar, compared to the crypto total market cap, excluding Bitcoin, and line that up when Bitcoin's dominance dropped, well, from February of 2017 until January 2018, when Bitcoin's dominance was dropping, the altcoin market broke out 60,000%. That's what caused XRP. Well, XRP is what caused this as well too, to rise upwards of $3. And it was synergistic to the amount of growth that happened in the altcoin market because billions of dollars flew into XRP. Now we can also see this descending resistance right here, and the last bull run where Bitcoin's market cap dominance dropped from roughly 70% to like 38%. Well, the altcoin market did some gains, but not as parabolic as 2017. Same thing for XRP. It made some money. It did like a 10 or a 12x or something to nearly $2, but not nearly as much as 2017. So when we draw this descending resistance right here from the peak of 2017 to the peak of 2021, we're at it right now for XRP. And so this is a make or break moment. The time is drawing near for XRP, but the time for the whole crypto industry is now because massive institutions and whales have been diving in behind the scenes. Guys, there's over 1,000 plus NDAs that Ripple has with financial institutions, banks, massive hedge funds, where they can't talk about what's about to happen next. So what I would be looking to see happen for XRP is on the next major breakout for the altcoin market, I would expect XRP to break this descending resistance. Now, when the altcoin market sees a correction after the breakout, I would expect XRP's correction to happen. So on the breakout, maybe XRP goes upwards of $1.30, and then we see XRP cool off, come back down to back test 70 cents to 75 cents and see a sell-off like this, back down to this ascending support that we've been trending at for such a long period of time. And then the next move for XRP, when the altcoin market is making the final blow off top toward the last stage of this bull run, that's when I would expect the switch to be flipped for XRP, and XRP starting to go back upwards of $2, $3, $4, $5. And my price target for XRP for this bull run is max $30. Now anything beyond that would be absolutely incredible, as real world assets start to take over, especially when you look at what's happening, what I've been covering over the past 1 to 2 years on the channel for these companies making these massive partnerships with Ripple.
Ripple ist da mit seinem Angebot, und wenn die Zeit für Ripple spielt, dann kann Ripple durchaus die World Reserve Bridge Currency werden.
So if they're saying the World Reserve Bridge Currency, do you think that means that they mean the World Reserve Bridge Currency? Or do you think that they're just saying that for headlines and for clicks? Guys, it's happening, but patience. See, the elite, they play the game in decades, whereas retail peons at the bottom of the mountain, you and I that aren't privy to, what their elite are talking about round table meetings, they're sitting there, they're laughing, they're thinking about 2050, guys. They're thinking about, how can they own the world over the next few decades of everything and by controlling the money. And so right now, with it being 2024, you're going to be alive a lot longer than 1 to 2 years. So what's another 1 to 2 years? It's nothing. I mean, think about retirement. Like if you're in your 30s, imagine when you're 35, 40 years old, 5 to 10 years. That's not that long. Imagine when you're 50, that's 20 years. Imagine when you're 60, that's 30 years. So by the time you're getting ready to retire around 50, 60, 70 years old and just kick back, relax, and play golf all day long, I believe XRP could be one of those projects that will make that more of a reality for everyone out there. And we see all these price glitches happening. For example, spotted on Binance showing 1 XRP equals, 4,300,000 Swiss francs, which is equivalent to around $4,800. So why are all these price glitches happening? Are they testing the true value of XRP behind the scenes? Well, the Bearable guy, he's been posting this stuff on Twitter, these riddles, and I don't like to get too much into riddles. I just find them interesting because when I cover the news and we see these riddles popping up that show, like for example, the IMF, the BIS, and what role they're playing in terms of Ripple, it's a complicated puzzle to put together. So there's too much information pressed into just one image. But here it goes. For example, the Bank for International Settlements in red is making the involvement of SWIFT, central banks, the IMF, and the XRP bear, which is us retail investors. So the ultimate goal is to have everything pegged to one central currency, and XRP will be at the heart, to bridge liquidity through the XRP ledger. And so you guys can see the rook is the central banks, the knight is Ripple, the bishop is the Bank for International Settlements, that's Nostro, Vostro accounts, the king is JP Morgan, commercial banks, like Wells Fargo, HSBC, Santander, a lot of other banks that have publicly announced they've already partnered with Ripple. The queen is the International Monetary Fund, and Brad Garlinghouse was on the stage with the head of legal, Ross, and they were both giggling at each other and tell them, do you own any XRP? He's like, I can't say. Of course, he's on an NDA, guys, common sense. And so the knight is us, XRP holders. The rook is SWIFT as well too. And they said they've been testing it through SWIFT in the foreign exchange market, which is a multi-trillion-dollar a day market. So it's common sense. It's a no-brainer at this point. It's just a matter of when. That's all it is. We don't know when. And so they're playing this game with us. They're suppressing the price. They're signing NDAs. And so these banks and these financial institutions could just load up on XRP like Amazon in the 90s or the early 2000s. Now, Ripple has built a very vast and incredibly skilled team over the years. And so this graphic provides an overview of two of the most important employees and education of each person. So you can see Brad Garlinghouse, as the CEO, David Schwartz used to work for the NSA. He had a patent, before Bitcoin came out, basically. Then Bitcoin came out after that. People say that he's one of the team in Satoshi, and he said it's possible. He didn't confirm it, because obviously he's not going to tell people that. Then we see, the head of Morgan Stanley, chief financial officer, Yahoo and AOL, Eric Mittenberg, the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth. Then, we could see Rosie Rios from the Department of the Treasury. Her name was on the vast majority of the $1 or the $100 bills. So she was saying she put more money out there than any other person in history, which I don't know if that's something to brag about, but that definitely makes her credible and to higher up for sure. And then some other big board members with connections to the White House, SBI Holdings, among major news corporations. You have Amazon, Tesla, American Express, Microsoft. Absolutely insane, guys. Now, Brad Garlinghouse confirmed that Ripple is interested in going public, but they will probably carry out their IPO outside of the US. Right now, it doesn't make sense as long as Gary Gensler is still head of the SEC.
Do you want to go public?
That's a good question. My pause is, look, today, sitting here, Gary Gensler is the chair of the United States SEC. I'm not really popular inside the offices of the SEC, as you might imagine.
Well, the NYSE president was in that chair yesterday, and she said that she welcomed applicants from the crypto ecosystem, IPO markets heating back up.
Lynn Martin, I think, is a progressive example of where we should be. That's not where Gary Gensler is. And so the SEC has to approve an S1. Going public in the United States for Ripple right now, I don't think makes any sense. I think Coinbase, as a public company in the United States, probably regrets that decision. We've looked at, would we consider going public outside the United States? That, of course, is in the possibilities. Right now, it's just not on our immediate term agenda.
So Coinbase went public on April 14th, 2021. That was around the same time the market pretty much peaked. We can see XRP upwards of nearly $2. And this was exactly at the first peak of about $64,800 right here at the true all-time high for Bitcoin. So if Ripple goes public and the markets are absolutely soaring, that might mark the cycle top. So we'll keep you guys posted on that, because the moment that we see the most amount of bullish news happening, these companies going public, Coinbase's app being #1 in the App Store, stacked on top of that over 80 to 90 on the monthly RSI, the MACD and the signal line well above the zero line, the greed and euphoria at an all-time high, then that's when it's time to start exiting the markets. As hard as that's going to be, I know you're thinking your bags are going to go to the moon, especially if you're brand new. Do not make the mistake of round-tripping your bags and taking no profits at the end of this bull run cycle, because there's going to be tons of people saying, but this time it's different. Now Swift's on board, it's a new standard. Cryptocurrencies are the future. And yes, that's true. But just like the seasons of life, there's fall, winter, spring, summer. After spring comes summer, after summer comes fall, after fall comes winter. So right now we're in early summer, and it's lining up exactly with June. So we have June, July, August, leading into September. If Bitcoin's upwards of $100,000 and XRP is not past its all-time high, but all these partnerships are getting even bigger and bigger and bigger for Ripple, that just means the liquidity behind the dam is building up, and we're going to start to see the cracks in the dam wall form. Once the dam breaks, I believe XRP is going to absolutely explode.
Joined today by the 43rd Treasurer of the United States, Rosie Rios, to discuss just that. Rosie, welcome.
Thank you.
So Rosie, when you think about the intergenerational wealth transfer that's going to go on, what do you think about?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And if you're only thinking about it now, you're behind the 8 ball. The train has left the station. I keep saying that, and it's absolutely true, especially when it comes to this topic. So what people need to realize about intergenerational wealth is it's already happening, right? So we're talking about so the boomers, which is my generation, we have the most discretionary income. But this next generation, basically, the millennials, although it's pretty much anyone born in the mid-90s and later, are going to inherit this opportunity to really think about investments in a totally different way. So when you think about those generations, so technically, the millennials or anyone born between 1980 and 1996. But again, look, my son's 26, my daughter's 21. I call them the Robin Hood investor, right? But in reality, these are kids who grew up with the internet, right? So anyone who's grown up with the internet, they see the world as very flat. It's no longer what they're taught at home, what they're taught in the classroom. It's what they see. It's what they've learned, the good, the bad, the ugly of the internet. They're very tech savvy, they're very confident, but they don't have the experience that perhaps a lot of wealth managers, financial analysts, managers, etc. need to really understand how to think about their investments. So for me, you know, it was very important that I get into their heads. My daughter's 21, my son is 26. When I left the Obama administration in 2016, after serving both terms, I studied these kids, I call them kids, for 2 years at Harvard. And I really wanted to understand kind of the social, political, economic way that they think and how they behave. And for them, you know, it's kind of this one and done world, right? It's set it and forget it. Right. Technology means everything to them. They're very, very confident, they're very progressive, and they're very savvy. But again, they lack a lot of the world experience that my generation still has. So even here now in this economic downturn, this unprecedented economic downturn, this is where, in my opinion, the wealth management industry has a huge opportunity. It's no longer about taking them out to golf and buying them dinner. It's really kind of thinking about how to use technology and information in a totally different way. So if you're not already on their app, on their phone, and that's how they access information, if you're not already there, you know, you're behind. You're behind. So for people to really think about how to use technology, how to kind of think about kind of out of the box approaches to investments, and really it's not just about assessing value, it's creating value. And again, really being able to understand how these kind of exotic investments work, whether it is crypto, whether it is thinking about getting into, whether it's the metaverse, et cetera, these pre-IPO opportunities. I mean, the time is now. The absolute time is now.
So not only has the train left the station, but we're backing up our truck all the way to the bank, grabbing the bags, packing them, stacking them, leaving no bags left behind because we believe the spending power of the dollar is going to keep going down in value. That's a fact based on inflation. Blockchain technology, distributed ledger technology is going up in value. That's the truth. And together, we're all going camping on the beaches of the moon. So if you're ready to become the first millionaire in your family tree with crypto, and you want to get early access to our underground guidebook to become a crypto millionaire when it's released, then all you need to do right now is go to bullrunners.com, and you're going to get exclusive early access to alerts on explosive altcoins with timely notifications about high potential projects before they hit the mainstream market. You're also going to get access to daily market analysis videos where you can watch daily videos like this to stay up to date on the latest trends and updates in the cryptocurrency market. And you're also going to receive pro trading strategies and tools for you to access proven trading tips and institutional grade indicators to refine your trading strategy. So don't miss out on the launch of our new underground guidebook called Altcoin Secrets that's going to help you discover the next 100x altcoin. All you need to do to get early access is go to bullrunners.com, click the button on the page, put in your best email address, and you'll be instantly subscribed for the early bird list when it's released. We know you're going to love it.